Hello and welcome to the Shiny Bees podcast, a podcast for those that like their knitting, comedy and yarn in equally large measures. I'm your host Jo Milmine and this is episode 40, The Prince of Brioche, an interview with Stephen West.
I feel a need to laugh again with you, if that's alright. I need a drink, I need a friend.
Hello everybody and welcome back into the show. I hope you've been well since the last time I spoke to you. Today is Friday the 3rd of April and it will be a departure from the usual format of the show in that it will be a standalone interview with Stephen West. I found out that Stephen was going to be attending Edinburgh Yarn Festival amongst the flurry of excitement that he would be teaching a class, and decided that I simply had to interview him. So I popped along an email asking would he be so kind if he had time to come along to chat to me, and I was delighted when he said yes, I'd love to. So we made a plan to get together on the Sunday morning following the cabaret, and he was an absolute delight. I wasn't entirely sure what to expect other than some rather brightly coloured lycra and a whole lot of brioche, and there was definitely some brioche there, but he was an absolute delight to chat to. He was very down to earth and it was really sweet actually. He was an absolute sweetheart, so I very much enjoyed chatting to him and hearing all about his influences and the way that he works and he designs. The main prompt to speak to him came from chatting to Kate Davies, which you will remember from episode 34. If you haven't listened to it, again, that is another interview episode with her. And in that interview, she specifically mentioned Stephen as one of the designers that she found very inspiring. So I thought it'd be really interesting to speak to him and find out, are there any parallels between the way that they work? Because they both have extremely different styles, but yet both very successful in their own way, despite being so completely different in their look. How their photography is done, how the design is done is completely different, but yet they're both really popular. So I thought it'd be interesting just to see things from his side, really, just get his opinion on things, pick his brains a little bit, have a little bit of a chat, and it was an absolute pleasure. For those of you that haven't met him before, and neither had I up to this point, funny old thing, he's about 6'3", I would say. But because he's trained in musical theatre, he stands up, he's got beautiful posture, so he stands up very tall with very open shoulders, with his head held up, because obviously due to the years of dance training, which only serves to make him seem even taller. And then he usually has a brioche hat as well, which adds an inch or two on top of that. So he does have an almost larger than life physical appearance, and then there is the theatrical side to his personality that he talks about in the interview, which I guess is partly kind of coming back to his background rather than his heritage, I would say, as a dancer, and also because he's quite introverted. He said he is an introvert, and maybe this other side of his personality is that kind of coping with that, really. But as I said, it was really good fun to interview. He was very kind of candid with his answers. It was a great laugh, and I hope that you will enjoy listening to the interview as much as I enjoyed recording it. As you can hear as I giggle along in the background, it was really good fun. It was recorded in the podcast lounge, so the acoustics are different to what you're used to hearing on the podcast, because it's kind of on location, if you will. There is someone with some ridiculously clippy-cloppy shoes, so I've tried to kind of reduce that background noise as much as possible, but there is an element of that. Hopefully that'll give you a little bit, bit of atmosphere, something different to what you're used to hearing, and I hope you'll enjoy the interview. So get comfy, grab your West Knits work in progress, and let's go back to the future to chat with West Knits.
cool.
Because I think a lot of people want to know whether you're like Stephen West, your persona.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I have like a split personality.
Yeah.
So I'm a true introvert at heart. I think like a lot of knitters.
Yeah.
Like my normal day is just being alone at home, doing my stuff. But then I have like all these ideas and fantasies in my head. Like, I love color and theatrics. And so I have this other side of me that's extreme extrovert,
Yeah.
but in bursts. So it comes out when I meet some people, or when in my classes it comes out sometimes. But like when I'm alone, it's no time.
Yeah. So, I love your shoes.
I got stitch markers.
Have you been to Harvey Nichols in town yet?
No, what is that?
Harvey Nichols is a department store.
Yeah.
And in the window of Harvey Nichols, they have some really strange sort of iguanas that have been made out of the soles of shoes.
Oh, cool. I love
Knitting
that.
needles in its back and stitch markers.
Oh my gosh,
Crazy, yeah. But they
perfect.
have like a champagne bar on the fourth floor.
Yeah.
I could totally see you there knitting. Good view. Nice view of the castles. Oh, sorry, completely distracted then. So thank you very much for agreeing to come and do an interview.
Yes, thanks for having me.
That's okay, it's a pleasure. So can you tell us a little bit about you and your background and how you came to be interested in sort of yarny pursuits?
Yeah, well, I planned it from a very young age. No, I didn't. I wanted to be like a singer or a dancer. Like, I was always doing something creative. So I learned to knit while doing musical theater, because you have to wait backstage a lot. There's a lot of downtime. So some friends taught me. It was really rocky start, but it got me interested. And I always did something like origami or making jewelry, and those were just phases. But knitting from the very beginning was clearly not a phase.
Yeah.
And you know that when you teach a knitter, like, do they just want to make a hat, or are they hooked?
Yeah.
And they're going to have 1,000 skeins of yarn at the end of the year. I was one of those. And I got even more hooked when I found my first local yarn store. In Urbana, Illinois. I studied dance there at a university, and I found my local yarn store, learned more things. I encountered wool and figured that it was nicer to knit with than acrylic.
Yeah.
So, and I found pattern books. Rowan books were one of the first things I saw, besides, I don't know, whatever the leaflets were at Michael's, the big box store.
Yeah.
So that got me really, really hooked. And then I began designing. It just kind of developed from modifying patterns, because I have a little different style, I would say, than most guys and even knitters. But just how I wear it and how I approach it is a little different perspective. I consider it unisexy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not so traditional and so single-minded in what the rules are and what things have to be like. I make my own rules, and that's kind of how I've always been, and that's how I think about knitting. I make it colorful, and I do what I want. I self-publish and have fun the whole time.
Yeah, it's definitely an element of fun in your knitting, I'll agree with that. So what was the point then where you went from your knitting backstage and your yarn store in Illinois to it becoming more of a business venture for you?
Yes. I started sharing a pattern, a free pattern on Ravelry, and the owner of my local yarn store asked me to do that for a local arts festival, to have a little display in her shop. So I did that, and people made it, and I thought that was really cool. Like, oh my gosh, I shared this thing, and like people are like listening to me. I've always kind of been like that, like, Mom, look at me, look, I can do a back bend, I can do a cartwheel, look, I just learned a handspring. So like, look at me, look what I can do. So I still got that inside of me, and I own that. Like, I think it's a great thing to be like, hey everyone, like, check this out.
It's entertainer.
Yeah, and not be, defeated and shy. And, sometimes I'm a little shy, but I think it's important to give. And I definitely do that with color and with my photos, and which the output of patterns. I love creating new things and sharing them and seeing other people translate them and apply their own style to it.
Yeah.
I'm most inspired by projects I see where they take an idea and take it even further and make it personal, because that's what I do, and then I present it my way, but I don't expect people to do it in the same exact color and wear it the same exact way. But I don't know, if they showed up looking just like me, I think that'd be great. like a little knitting West Knits twin. That would be amazing.
Oh, if you told me, I'd have prepped a bit better.
No. You're wearing the shawl real nice. You got your stripes
you.
and it's really good.
So what does the average day look like then for you?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people want to know the answer to this question. What does West Knits do all day?
Well, there's on tour West Knits, which is really glamorous. Not all the time.
I saw when you carved that day.
It's like teaching, go, and I'm exhausted, and I don't get to knit as much, and I eat chocolate in the evening and fall asleep. And then do it all over again. Teach. My normal day, what I consider normal, is knitting like 8 hours a day. And, just 8 to 10 hours a day. I take breaks. People ask me a lot of questions. Like, how do you knit that much? First of all, I'm obsessed. Second of all, I take some breaks. I danced a lot, so I'm aware of, how I'm sitting and what muscles I'm using.
Yeah.
Just checking in with yourself, like, are my shoulders up to my ears? Do they need to be there in order to do a cable? The answer is always no. So, yeah, I go to cafes and cafe hop. I work in my yarn shop in Amsterdam a couple days a week. And, yeah, now I also take breaks now to do little photo shoots in my house, go around the city and take photos. And I just started my own TV show on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, self-produced. There's 2 episodes out already. It's called The West Knits Show, but it's hosted by Stephen Eastnitz, and he's a little more sassy and a little fun, likes to do things differently. He makes fun of Stephen sometimes, West Knits, but he likes style and color, so he hosts the YouTube show. So that's my new project.
Oh, and how are you finding that?
I find it fun because, I don't know, I just get to talk to myself and like release all my fantasy ideas, and it's really silly, but I take it really seriously. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
What is
it's a
the
fun
yarn scene
project.
like in Amsterdam?
The yarn scene in Amsterdam is really vibrant. There's a lot of knitters. It's a little smaller, I'd say, compared to America. I go there to teach a lot, and it's really fanatical in America.
Yeah.
And in Amsterdam, it's more chill, but still a lot of amazing knitters and 3 shops in the city.
Which one would you recommend, other than your own?
Oh,
Obviously.
other than my own, I would say my own. The Offstop is one that sells all the Rowan yarns, and they've been around for, I don't know, I think 3 decades at least or something, for a long time in the center. And they have a huge library of books, so that would be my other favorite.
Right.
Yeah.
So, obviously you've talked a bit about your daily routine and things. Can you talk us through your sort of design process when you're going to design a new item? Mm-hmm. How does that all work?
I very much design while I knit. So I do less of sketching and planning and thinking, and then, okay, I want this kind of shape, this is how I do it, now it's time to execute. I have to like figure it out while I go and make mistakes and just repeat those mistakes and write them down and call it a design. So that's what I do sometimes. But I base a lot of the things I make off of previous explorations.
All right, yeah.
So I think of all my designs as kind of like a swatch, a recorded study, and then I work it out until it's kind of a repetitive, clear kind of pattern. It's not always all over the place. I want people to be able to follow it. But I go from there and then add some color from that previous idea. And so I've been knitting kind of all day, every day, the last 5 years. So that's a long time to build, a series of shawls. I have like 200 shawls now. And it's been like a study from the basic triangle to exploding that shape, incorporating color and texture. And now I'm really interested in modular construction, where it's not just one direction, but it's multi-directional fabrics. So it's, figuring it out while I go, while I knit.
Oh, awesome. That's really interesting. So no journey is ever a smooth one, and all businesses have their ups and downs. Can you think about a time where maybe things didn't quite go to plan? What happened and what you learned as a result of it?
Yeah, let me think. Well, I always underestimate the timing of projects. So like when you commit to, I'm going to do a book, and you work on all the projects, and you don't record the patterns. It's like, okay, this is taking longer. I wanted to have it done this year, but maybe I should have written all the details when I did it the first time. So I'm trying to get better about that, writing things down as I go, because you save time in the end. So I guess for me, it's not a failure, because if I commit to something, I usually finish it eventually. But yeah, sometimes books take a lot longer to get out than I originally planned. So
Is that because you get absorbed in the process, or?
yeah, it's because I get absorbed in what I'm doing, and because I work for myself, I don't always have another voice telling me, like, you have to do this. I'm like, well, I found this new yarn and I want to work with that now. Yeah. So I work on several projects at once, so I'm very scattered. Eventually things get done, but usually not in the order that I started them. So like the West Knits at Home book that just came out on Ravelry, I made those patterns, some of them 2.5 years ago, and the photos were done 2 years ago now, and it's just now coming out. So at the same time I'm releasing patterns, like currently, things like cast on 2 weeks ago and finished and took pictures of. So there's pictures of me on Ravelry timeline-wise, like 2 years ago with my mohawk, and then like last week with my pink hair. So it's like, you changed your look quite fast. But yeah, it's different timing.
Oh, awesome. So which other knitwear designers inspire you then, and why?
Some of my favorite knitwear designers, I feel like Vera is my like garter stitch striped soul sister. I just love her casual, fun, fresh attitude to knitting. It's simple, but there's always like a little fun element, and that's kind of my kind of knitting. I like simple stitches and bright colors and just a fun little twist in there. So I love her style. And I've always been following Isolde. She was one of the first independent designers I noticed, and I met her 6 years ago, I think, in Chicago, when she had Whimsical Little Knits, the first one. And I went to the book signing. I made like a hat and a blanket of hers, and I showed her. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to design too.
You fangirled Isolde?
Yeah, I think that was maybe after I designed like 2 or 3 patterns. But
that's awesome.
I always love. She's always ahead of the game. She's always doing the next thing with technology, with self-publishing, and it's just great to see someone working on their own that strongly. Yeah, that's really inspiring.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I thought you guys had all been pals forever.
Since we were little, since we were babies, yeah.
Okay then, so which one thing that you know now do you wish you had known when you first picked up a ball of yarn?
I wish I knew... I don't know if I wish I knew this, but I wish I knew that there... No, I don't know. I'm thinking about neon right now.
Are you rocking a very nice neon?
Yeah. That's one thing that I wish I knew. Yeah, I sort of wish I knew when I started to knit where I would be now with it, like just in terms of my attitude and color and style, because I took it for a period of time more seriously than I do now.
Yeah.
And with these rules in my head, like a sweater has to be constructed this way, a scarf has to be this kind of shape. And now I'm really free and open about what a scarf shape can be and how you can construct fabric. So I wish I had even more looseness about those construction, just style ideas. And yeah, I didn't take things that seriously, but I wish I loosened up even more earlier on.
Yeah.
That's when I knit, and also in school, like being less of a rule follower and being more and more of a rule breaker.
You can definitely see that in your work from the earlier things, which were a little bit more conventional. You
Yeah.
can see the rule breaking
Yeah.
sort of as you've gone through time.
Yeah, and I still love them. You know, I had to do that to get to what I'm doing now.
Absolutely.
And what I'm doing now, I hope I'm not repeating the same exact thing, 2-3 years from now and 10 years from now. First of all, I hope I'm still knitting. Hope I don't never get sick of it. That would be a nightmare. I get a wool allergy. That's like my worst nightmare.
Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh.
Crazy. Okay then, so desert island skeins. If you were marooned on a desert island and you could only take one skein of yarn, obviously we're pre-planning this marooning on a desert island, which one would you take?
Tosh Merino Light Edison bulb.
Oh wow, straight in there, no messing.
Tosh Merino Light Edison bulb. That's like my go-to skein. When I run out of that, I just have to get another one just to have it in my stash.
Oh.
Like my emergency color is Edison bulb. And I love Tosh Merino Light. It's a great drapey yarn. It might not be the best for desert island because it wouldn't hold up the best for ripping out and reknitting. Because I would want to, keep using that yarn. So maybe I could talk to Amy at Madeline Tosh to do like an everlasting TML where it like always stays brand new.
Yeah.
Even if you knit it 100 times. So we'll work on that technology.
Yeah, just in case.
We'll find a new sheep for that.
You never know. It's South African merino. It's nice stuff.
Yeah.
So what's your favourite or go-to resource for yarn stuff or business that you couldn't do without?
Favorite? What do you mean? Like favorite resource for?
Well, some people say Ravelry. A lot of people say Ravelry. Some people say an accountant. Some people say different stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my favorite resource, definitely Ravelry. That's like, I don't know, it's the go-to for all knitters. It's why, like I knit before Ravelry and there were other websites, but it's, I think, given so much to our community.
Yeah.
And it's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and it's like just helped the whole industry grow.
Yeah.
So that's my go-to forever.
Brilliant. So where can the listeners find you on the internet? So we've talked about East Knits versus West Knits on your show on YouTube.
You can find me. I have West Knits, a group on Ravelry, West Knits on Facebook. I always post updates and announcements. And on YouTube, search West Knits episode, and you'll find my episodes. You'll find Stephen East Knits there to entertain you. And I have lots of fun videos. The Swants dance video.
Yeah, someone actually speculated whether you would come wearing swants today for the interview.
I'm wearing patterned pants,
Yeah.
but it's a little toasty. It would be a little toasty in swants. I do have some cotton swants, but I had to pack light. I had to only bring like 50 shawls with me, so
Exactly.
yeah, the shawls had to fit somewhere. They take priority in my life. They're my babies, my shawls.
Do you have any sort of words of advice for people who are looking to get into the industry, maybe as a designer or a dyer or a shop owner? What advice would you give them?
Just dive in. Do what you love, like knit with the yarns you love. If you have like a pattern idea, if you want to do patterns, just share that with someone, get someone to test it out, share pictures of it. I'd say don't hold things back, because I think if you're trying something new, you want to do it the right way at the right time. I don't know what that way is or when that time is.
Yeah.
But so for me, the most important thing is just to get my ideas out, because I find the more I hold on to them, just the more stale they become,
Yeah.
and then they're just history. They're not as relevant a year from now. So yeah, just get your ideas out. Go to events like this, the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. It's amazing. There's so many people, so many different styles and products to encounter. So yeah, just get out there and don't lag. Just move forward and put your ideas and work out in the world.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's a scary thing, I think, when you first go out there and how people will react to what you've produced.
Yeah, if I look back at my first things, like I would approach it differently now, but that's because I'm in a different place now and I have a different style and aesthetic, and I love the things I did, but I'm moving on, and and I don't like to go back. I like to move forward. That's in my knitting. I don't like to rip out my knitting. I rarely rip my knitting. I will drop it and start something new, or just leave it be and just call it a design feature, that whole. Yeah.
So speaking of like moving forward then, what is next for West Knits?
Well, I'm going to do some more traveling this year, little European visits. I'm going to visit Berlin, London, the UK. I'll come in the spring, and I'm going to teach in Paris in May. So little trips. I have some new patterns coming out. I'm really obsessed with brioche stitch.
Yeah.
Brioche stitch. I'm declaring it the stitch of the year.
Well, you're rocking the stitch of the year at the moment.
I love it. Nancy Marchant is the brioche queen, and I'm going for the brioche, well, I don't know, king.
Prince, perhaps?
Yeah, maybe the adopted prince of brioche stitch. So I'm obsessed with that. So you'll see some more brioche patterns. The first brioche shawl is coming soon.
Oh, wow. Can you give us any juicy details?
Well, it's pretty simple. It's definitely going to be West Knit style, colorful,
Yeah.
geometric. I've got it with me now.
Is this in production?
Yeah, it's
I'm
going to be
seeing this-
huge.
It's amazing.
There's going to be 2 versions, a 2-color version, and the one I'm holding now is like 10 colors with neon pops, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love brioche. It's cushy and reversible, and
It is. It's a nice fabric.
yeah, it's the new garter stitch for me.
Oh, brilliant. Well, I think that's all the questions I have for you. Just
thank
now,
you.
is there anything else you want to tell us about before you go?
Yeah, just keep following. My Facebook, Instagram. I always post latest photos and news. So yeah, there's always a lot to be inspired by that I get inspired by. So I always share that. So yeah, keep paying attention, and I'll hope to knock your swants off soon.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you very much for agreeing to come to an interview.
Yes.
I've really enjoyed chatting to you.
Nice to talk to
I
you.
know, and I'm looking forward to the brioche shawl coming out.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to cover my whole body. I already have the brioche breeches and a bolero, and now I'm going to have a shawl. So I've head to toe brioche soon.
Oh, it's going to be cozy.
Mm-hmm.
Are you wearing sequins?
A little bit, yeah,
Oh.
always.
Very nice.
Because you always have to have your color pop, your sparkle, and your texture. So I have fringe, sequins, and pop red pants. And neon shoelaces. Yeah, I pop my pops with more pops.
That's brilliant.
So there you have it. I'm not entirely sure where I can go to, really, to follow Esty, considering I'm not wearing swants at this stage, or indeed any brioche. I feel I'm somewhat underprepared for the role, and so I'll draw it to a conclusion there. I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as I enjoyed recording it. It was good fun listening back to it. I was laughing away to myself during the editing, etc. for this episode. I thought it was great fun. If this is your first time over to the podcast, welcome. Hello. I hope you enjoyed the interview, and hope maybe that you'll stick around and try some of the other episodes. And for all of the returning listeners that have been with me for a while, thank you very much for listening. I do appreciate it. So I hope you all have a swantastic week. Happy crafting, and speak to you all again soon. Bye.
You've been listening to the Shiny Bees podcast, a podcast for those who like their knitting, comedy and yarn in equally large measures. If you'd like to get in contact with me, you can do so via the blog, or I'm Shiny Bees on Ravelry, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest and Facebook. You can email me at shinybeesinfo@gmail.com. Music for this episode is provided by Music Alley, and it is Adam and the Walter Boys and I Need a Drink.
I need a drink.